I'm sad, but I'm happy. I'm sad, but I'm happy. Hello, hello, hello. So in this vlog, I am reading Persuasion, and this is on my journey to read all of Jane Austen's works this summer. I only have 2 more to go, this one and Emma, and I'm really looking forward to it. I have admittedly already started. I started this a couple days ago and I'm already on page 40. One thing about this edition, this is the Premium Classics edition. There is no introduction, which I found very interesting because all of the other books that I've read have had an introduction. So I really went in blind with this. I know that Anne is the protagonist and I know that Captain Wentworth is her beau. And I know that it is kind of a second chance love story. And I also know that it is a bit more of a somber tone than her other books. So those are all of the things that I know going in. And what are my thoughts? This did not have a super strong beginning for me. I mean, I am coming off of the high of Northanger Abbey, so I'm gonna try really hard not to compare this book to that. I'm not gonna compare the book. I think that I am going to try and enjoy this as its own individual work of art. I have really found that Jane Austen has 2 kind of ways of beginning her novels thus far. She has the straight into a character-centric story with a delightful first sentence and an engaging scene that kind of sucks you in. And then she has a bit more of an exposition style beginning where she really lays the foundation of all of the characters and kind of what the story is about. With this one, it's certainly the latter of the 2 beginnings. We are thrown into the family of the Elliots. I have to say, I do not like any character so far, other than Anne. I think that all of the characters are super mean. I think that her family sucks. Not a whole lot has happened. Essentially, we find out that the Elliots, the family, the Elliots, are losing money. They are increasingly poorer and poorer, and they have to do something in order to start making some money. So they decide to let or rent out one of their homes or their home. I'm not entirely clear on that. But they decide to rent that out, and the whole conversation, the whole first couple chapters are really just about who they're gonna rent it out to. Then we are told about a failed love affair between Anne and a Captain Wentworth. And really, I think the most important takeaway from that is that they fell in love, and Anne absolutely and completely loved him, and he absolutely and completely loved her. They were gradually acquainted, and when acquainted, rapidly and deeply in love. It would be difficult to say which had seen the highest perfection in the other, or which had been the happiest, she in receiving his declarations and proposals, or he in having them accepted. So they were very much in love, and this happened about 7 years before, and they get engaged. Anne's entire family and those that she respects essentially persuade her to call off the engagement because Captain Wentworth had no fortune. He knew that he would soon have a ship and soon be on station, but at that point he didn't have anything to offer, and that made her father miserable, and one of her, I want to say confidants, I think that's the vibe that I'm getting, Lady Russell. She even persuades Anne to call off the engagement. So Anne does, and it completely shatters Captain Wentworth, and it also has clearly shattered Anne and haunted her to this day. And, you know, it is a different tone, but I am enjoying the writing so far. I think that it's not as playful up front, but you really get the playfulness through your ability to hate a lot of the characters dealing with Anne, particularly her sister Mary and her sister Elizabeth. And Anne has a little bit of a self-deprecating manner about her. I can tell that by her acceptance of the way that her family talks about her and to her. She does not feel the best about herself, and I'm very interested to see the rest of her journey. So that is all that has happened, is we've learned about Captain Wentworth, we've been introduced to the Elliots and Lady Russell, and we hate the Elliots. We love Anne. We like Anne. I don't actually know Anne that much, but I do get the feeling that I am going to root for her because I already am rooting for her. Hello. It has been a while since I've updated, and I apologize for that. You wouldn't know because it's only been like a couple seconds, but for me it's been like a few weeks. Actually, that's a lie. I think it's been like a week, maybe a week and a half, but I read the first 50 pages and then I took a little bit of a break. I'm not entirely sure why I took a little bit of a break. I just kind of felt like it, and honestly, I'm still really enjoying this book. I sat down today and I was on page 50, and I've read up until page 134. So I'm on chapter 3 of part 2, again, of this edition. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. That, like, it flew by, and I'm gonna try to read as much as possible today. I want to see if I'm able to finish this book today. I don't know because I do have plans this evening, but it is currently just after 11, and today I am dedicating my holiday, because it's actually a holiday today, to reading this book. So what has happened? So I think the last time I updated you, it was just a lot of introduction, and we had found out that Anne had previously loved Captain Wentworth and they were engaged, and she called off the engagement. So I was very eager to meet him, and meet him I have, and I really am surprised with every book that I've read from Jane Austen how different each one feels and how universal the themes still are. I am not usually a big fan of second chance romance. I don't necessarily love that trope, but with this book I am just, I feel so much for Anne, and all of the longing passages and the glances that mean the world to Anne just really hit me in the heart. They really hit me in the feels, and I really enjoy reading them. Talking about this book, you really have to talk about Anne as a main character because the book is so heavy in her head. While a lot of things happen around her, I think the core part of this book that I'm truly enjoying is her battling with what she did in the past, breaking off her engagement with Captain Wentworth and seeing him now, and the hope and the desire that she has that potentially something could happen. I have no idea what's happening outside. it sounds like it sounds like rocks are being poured from the sky. What has happened in terms of the basic plot points is we've met Captain Wentworth. All of them being like the main cast of characters, went on a little vacation to a seaside town. Captain Wentworth is in want of a wife, and he starts kind of courting, kind of getting to know these two sisters, Henrietta and Louisa. And on a walk, and Louisa's loving it, by the way. Louisa's like, he's my man, love it, want to be with him. And we don't quite know how Captain Wentworth is feeling. He is encouraging it, but because this is from the perspective of Anne, I feel like it's a little bit of an unreliable narrator. And so on this walk, Louisa is like jumping from a pier. I don't actually understand what she was doing. She was like jumping into his arms. I don't know why. She's not a child, but I guess maybe she kind of is. I don't know. It was weird. Anyway, so she jumps from a pier and he's not ready to catch her, he being Captain Wentworth, and she falls and smashes her head. I mean, I don't think it's certainly not explained that grotesquely, but in my mind is she just smacks her head and is passed out. That's basically all that has happened, honestly. Anne has kind of developed a little something with, oh my gosh, what is his name? With a Captain Benwick. They've met. He's kind of grown fond of Anne. You know, they talked books. She recommended some books for him to read, and now Anne is hearing through her sister and her brother-in-law that he kind of can't stop talking about her and can't stop thinking about her, and there's a little bit of something happening there. And I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but I actually kind of like Captain Benwick. I think he's really sweet. He's really endearing. I know he's like not the one for her, but he's really sweet, and he seems to be like the only one that's really nice to Anne. It's Captain Wentworth helping Anne into a carriage, and Anne reads into it in such a way that is so relatable and so endearing and just full of pining. And it says, you know, she's thinking about it in his head, like, he helped her. Oh my gosh, he helped me. He cares about me. And it says, he could not forgive her, but he could not be unfeeling. Though condemning her for the past and considering it with high and unjust resentment, though perfectly careless of her, and though becoming attached to another, still he could not see her suffer without the desire of giving her relief. You know, it's just really fun. It's really fun to read these moments where she is just reading into every little thing that he does. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm gonna get back to it because I want to see how much I can get through today. We are on page 134. There's just this really great scene between Anne and Captain Wentworth that I wanted to talk about very briefly. It was basically what has just happened is Louisa and Captain Wentworth, everyone was thinking that they were courting one another, that he was courting her and that they were going to get married, and essentially Anne just found out that Captain Benwick and Louisa are now in love and are going to get married. And it happens very suddenly. I mean, it literally happened within like 20 pages of the last time that I updated you. And the only other thing that I forgot to mention is that Anne also is having a little something with her cousins, Mr. Elliot. If you've watched all of these videos, you've known my deal with cousins. There's always a cousin love interest. One of Anne's dearest friends, Mrs. Russell, is slightly encouraging her to get to know Mr. Elliot a little bit better. She thinks that they would make a very good couple. So that's the only other thing that has happened that I forgot to mention. But essentially, there's just this really cute scene between Anne and Captain Wentworth discussing essentially Louisa and Captain Benwick's sudden engagement and sudden love. And Captain Wentworth says he's really surprised that Captain Benwick likes Louisa because, you know, she's a little dull, basically. You know, she's not the smartest, and Captain Benwick is immensely well-read, and he's also in mourning. You know, he just lost one of his loves, and Captain Wentworth is talking about the fact that Captain Benwick is still in mourning and how you don't quickly get over love. And he says, a man does not recover from such a devotion of the heart to such a woman. He ought not. He does not. And I just love it because there was so much double talk happening in this conversation between the two of them that I couldn't help but like squeal while I was reading it, because I just think it's so smart and so beautiful. And, you know, this book has a very different tone than the other books. Anne's not a very happy individual, but she's slowly breaking out of her shell, and this conversation with Captain Wentworth really worked on her. His opinion of Louisa Musgrove's inferiority, an opinion which he had seemed solicitous to give, his wonder at Captain Benwick, his feelings as to the first strong attachment, sentences begun which he could not finish, his half-averted eyes, and more than half-expressive glance, all declared that he had a heart returning to her at least, that anger, resentment, avoidance were no more, and that they were succeeded, not merely by friendship and regard, but by the tenderness of the past. Yes, some share of the tenderness of the past. She could not contemplate the change as implying less. He must love her. Oh boy, we still have so much more to go though, so I don't know what's going to happen, but we shall see. I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm probably going to talk a lot less about this book than I have the previous books. And it's not because I didn't enjoy it, because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it immensely. But I think that this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one to talk about because it is quite sad. There is a lot of longing that happens. And let me just back up. I'm sad, but I'm happy. I'm sad, but I'm happy. Essentially, two main things have happened since the last time I updated you. Number one is we get a little bit more of a backstory of Mr. Elliot, who was Anne's cousin who was courting her. And we find out that he's a terrible human being and he was courting her for all the wrong reasons to essentially just get rich. He all but becomes evil in Anne's eyes, and rightly so. And Anne and Captain Wentworth end up together. They talk about their feelings and he ultimately proposes to her. And he composes a letter to her, which I'm just gonna put up because frankly it broke me, and it is one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever read. There's a very famous quote in it, half agony, half hope. I would die if someone wrote a letter like that to me. Ultimately, I really, really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed Anne's journey. I just think it was quite sad. I think that reading it, it's kind of hard not to read it and draw parallels to Jane Austen's life and to kind of know the mindset in which she wrote this book. I think it was her last book that she wrote, and there's just a lot. There's a lot to unpack that I don't think I could do justice, but I really enjoyed it. I give it a 3.75. I'd probably give this a 3.75 or a 4 out of 5 stars, truly. It's up there. I think it's probably my second or third favorite. And now we have one more book to go on this journey, and I cannot believe it. I read this book so quickly. It flew by, and we only have one more left to go on this journey. We have Emma, and I cannot wait to experience it. So tune in next time, and thank you so very much for watching, and yeah, onward on this journey.